Happy New Year, everyone. How are you doing? Great to see you. And as I said, I decided to start a little bit early since you can see we had a lot of people, Lucky 99. Welcome, everyone. I couldn't think of a better way to start the new year than to meditate and to read for you guys. Back when I was learning how to be a yoga teacher, we would actually usually spend New Year's Eve doing yoga, meditating, and really trying to bring the energy onto a higher level. So to honor that tradition, I wanted to show up today to see what Spirit had to say, to bring in some of those messages and to help all of us get off to a good start. This is Apollo. I'm going to put him down, my lovely little Apollo, so that we can get started and discuss everything that's coming through. I really like these collective videos. For those of you that have been watching me for the past 6 years or so, you know that the collectives are kind of new. What I'm going to try to do in 2021 is it's basically like a baker's dozen. I'll do the 12 sign videos plus one extra. And each month it may have a theme, or it may just be us getting together, focusing on collectively what we all can work on. Today we do have a couple of themes. So what we'll be looking at is love and abundance. But I'm going to start with general. I always like to begin with channeled messages. I've been receiving a lot of sort of imagery and messages through dreams. I tried to pull out the more salient pieces, and we'll be looking at that in just a second. The format today is going to be 3 major parts. After the channeled message, we're going to work on general reading, looking at everything for the collective here. So if it's your first time, it'll function almost like a monthly one. Whatever needs to come through will come through. Basically, it's a snapshot in time. As we're going from the 31st to the 1st, what can we all focus on to be our best? So it's like a New Year's general. Then we're going to look at love. And love doesn't have to just be for those of you that are looking for love. It can be key relationships in your life, because love is the currency of the universe. So I try to kind of keep that broadly focused. And also one of the differences that I kind of look at love is it starts within. So we'll be looking at where we can heal so that as we engage in new relationships, they'll benefit from that. And then we're going to look at abundance, which is something we all need after 2020. How can we find more opportunities? How can we be more productive? How can we bring in more energy and resources overall? So we'll meditate at the end too. I'm going to cut out the reviews because I'm doing 3 readings in one. So I'll just do my best to kind of do a mini summary without pulling the camera down and looking at all the cards. That way I can keep it within the normal time frame. All right. So happy New Year. It's so great to see so many people here already. Let's talk about the channeled messages that came through. So again, if you just joined, my name is Nicholas Ashbaugh. It's a general reading. Everyone is welcome. And we're going to be focusing on a lot of stuff today. So you picked a great date to join. I like to start my readings with, if it comes through, and it did come through today, like a totem. And last night, sometimes it's nature, sometimes it's plants, sometimes it's animals. I heard someone today saying they didn't want to see animals, but I'm like, yep, you know what? An animal came through, and we're going to work with that because it's an important animal and some really cool things associated with it. The way it appeared to me was kind of magical. It was a cat, but it went between a Bengal cat and a tabby. I had to kind of look it up to make sure I had the right terms. Kind of wild a little bit. So a Bengal cat looks a lot like this. It's a hybrid of like Egyptian cats and other sort of wild cats, like a cheetah almost. And then a tabby cat is really kind of more descriptive of all those stripes that you see, usually kind of yellowish in color. And so I saw it kind of revealing this more wild state, the tabby or cheetah type energy, and then the more domesticated state. It's almost like a very feline version of the moon card, right? The 2 different aspects of our nature, trying to fit into the mold, and then having this instinct that's telling us, you know what, I want to go my own way. I want to do my own thing. I think a lot of us might be challenged with that kind of fork in the road. What should I do next? And that's what we're going to look at. So it was a cat basically, but there were 2 specific types that came to me. And when I think of cats, they have a fantastic connection to intuition. If you ever watched the movie Constantine, which kind of diverged from the books and comics, there was a point there where Keanu Reeves picked up a cat to help meditate and kind of go into the other world, because he kind of said it has 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So I think it's a really cool character, a really cool animal to come through, because it's showing us that if we just release a little bit, let our third eye open up, some amazing things can come through. So rely on your instincts as we're going into this new year. make a fast recovery from any missteps. When I think of a cat, if it falls, it quickly knows how to recover and get back on its feet. That's why we say, it has 9 lives, or it always kind of lands on its feet. So I feel that after being thrown around in the blender that was 2020, we can handle anything in 2021. And the cat coming through was saying, you've gained this new sort of ability to be agile, to be able to rely on your instincts, and to have a fast recovery. And that's also what we want to focus on, is that word recovery. How can we start to recover and to bounce back? All right. So I love that the cat came through with all of that. I'm a dog person now, but as a kid, I had a tabby cat, actually. Mittens was its name, and it had little white paws. The thing with Mittens is always getting into trouble, right? If you have a cat, you don't control the cat. The cat puts up with you, and it's sort of like you were navigating around that creature. But sometimes on YouTube, I'll watch videos of cats just taking things and throwing them down. They're playful. They like to entertain themselves. They get bored. But you can use that playful side and that curious side this month to engage others. It can be a great sort of technique. Just make sure that using that sort of metaphor of the cat, that everyone's in on it, because sometimes the cat's just entertaining itself and it's annoying other people. So really try to be inclusive in the energy that you are exuding. Pull people into that excitement and that curiosity, and then you can have a bunch of cats around you, basically. Good energy. The other thing here is to think, but don't overthink. And with this is really kind of about tapping into your intuition. If you want to know one of the tenets of how can I be more intuitive, it's to go with that initial thought that comes through when you think of someone, something, or when you meet someone. Because we're going to be looking at love later today. So that first instinct that you have is typically the best. I've had interviews where I think, I shouldn't go here, but I did it and it was bad. Or sometimes you meet a friend and you think we're going to be friends for life, and you are. Or you just have that butterfly inside when you meet someone and you think, I really want to get to know this person, maybe on a romantic level, and it pans out. Follow that, whether it's here, or just kind of in your energy. That intuition is key. Don't overthink it. And sometimes, even if you're just trying to learn how to read cards, when you pick up the card, how do you feel? What did you see? That's what the message is. Don't try to analyze too much the meanings of the cards. It's kind of like we learn the alphabet and we learn the words. And then, like, I'm a writer, once you start to use the tools, it's kind of like a painter thinking about the color red or the color blue. You might want to understand how to mix them and kind of complement them, but at a certain point, you just know what red is, and you know where to use it, and you know what you want to do with it. Same thing with words, same things with the cards, same things with the messages that are coming through. It's basically a very intuitive and honest and channeled sort of state that you can be in if you allow yourself to be in there. So an intuitive attunement requires flexibility. It also means that, much like a cat, which is both flexible and spontaneous, you're going to need to be able to adjust course. It may not fit in to all these little neat note cards. It may not fit into the outline of what you're trying to do. But guess what? That's what this whole year was about. The cat came through for a reason. If you've ever watched them, they can kind of, it's almost like they're made of jello. They can go into a vase and kind of sleep in it. They can spring and bounce back. And so we need that kind of feline type energy as we approach January 2021. All right. They're also fiercely independent. So take the lead, be bold, inspire others to listen to what you have to say, right? And avoid getting too territorial. This is the only thing that I think is important, especially when we start to look at love, because sometimes there's this desire to protect. And this goes back to the moon card, which is more of a canine energy, but you have that, sometimes there's a path between them. You see the water and they're kind of sitting at both ends. And it's sort of like, what are we going to do? Who's going to make the first move? And in this particular case, I think it's important for you to be unafraid of taking that initiative and to moving forward, right? All right, let's move on to the next message, getting out of the totem space into the general sort of channeled messages. The next thing that I saw was an ember glowing in a fire. And to me, this is really powerful because it's telling me that 2020 didn't kind of blow out the fire. And if we just kind of rekindle the flame of our our intuition, our passion, whatever it is that truly drives us, amazing things can happen. Fan the flames of your passion. Maybe that's romance, maybe that's work, maybe that's self-improvement, whatever it is. This is where you should start to put the energy. I want to challenge some of you that are looking at this today to maybe try this for a month. Every day, take one single step, whether it takes a minute or an hour, it doesn't matter. Do something to move the needle forward. It took me a long time to write my book, but I did it in free time, mornings, evenings, holidays. And so sometimes I had half an hour, sometimes I had 3 or 4 hours, sometimes I just had 30 minutes, but I would always just chisel away. It's kind of like a sculptor, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and eventually you have shape and form. So if you do something for 1 month, maybe it's researching a new place to live, looking at colleges that you can go to, putting yourself out there to try to date virtually because we can't do a lot with social distancing right now. Whatever you're trying to do every day, put a little bit of effort. Maybe it's improving your health. So you're going to start to do yoga, or you're going to exercise, you're going to eat better. Whatever it is, each day take one step and see how you start to progress. And don't beat yourself up if one day you don't do it. Just kind of double up the next day and just keep moving forward. So give yourself this 30-day intuitive and sort of passion, if you want to, challenge to do something that you love for the sake of your happiness, because this is really for you. It's you and for you. So see what happens and do it because it makes you happy. Don't make it work. Make it like when I used to write my book in my free time, that was my escape from a job that I no longer connected with people around me that didn't really understand what I was going through because it was a spiritual awakening. So that was my celebration of that moment, of that journey. So rekindle or create the fire if you don't have one and find something that really brings you joy. Knitting, reading, writing, exercising, finding someone to love, I don't care, but put a little effort in every day and see what happens with that. Next visual was hydroplaning, which that's only happened once or twice to me. It's super scary when that happens. But as I think of like the last year, this is also a good metaphor for 2020. We were out of control. We were spinning in circles, right? And it was a little scary. The cool thing with this is I feel like for some of us, it was a redirecting energy. But right now, before we even decide what it was, take some time to stop, to breathe, and to get your bearings. And then see if there is a new perspective that you gained because of this redirecting energy. Maybe you decided, I really love what I'm doing. Maybe you decide, I don't. Maybe there's this new sort of perspective that why haven't I kind of been more present? We've all been forced to be more present, especially if you were furloughed or laid off or lost your job in some way, shape or fashion. It's sort of like the little things start to add up and matter a lot more. Empathy has been built up quite a bit. So take these new perspectives and these newfound skills and figure out, what am I going to do with this now? Because you're given permission, if not being, the universe is either giving you permission or outright pushing you into perhaps a new path or a new journey, which is exciting. You don't have to keep with the status quo. Nobody is going to get upset if you decide, I decided to do this instead. Good for you, To that end, you don't owe anybody any sort of excuse or kind of validation, because that comes from within. And, this in tarot would be shown by the Six of Wands, right? The external part of it. Sometimes we seek that adulation, that celebration, that joy that comes from, yay, you did a good job. But internally, it should start with, I feel this, I know this, I want this, I'm doing this. And then as you start to have that confidence, that passion, and as it starts to kind of feed into everything that you're doing, then others start to pick up on that. So the message here is, don't change yourself for others. Change yourself because you want to change it for you. It's all about kind of higher learning and spiritual growth. So if you are unhappy and driven to make a change because you feel like that's what your soul is asking you to do, fantastic. If it's your mom, if it's your lover, if it's a friend, if it's a teacher, and they're trying to force you to do something that doesn't feel authentic, then this is something else to look at. Those who are unable to see and celebrate your authentic self may not be ready or even deserving of that deeper connection with you. You don't need to change for them if you are doing something that you are being called to do. This is especially true for loving someone. there might be a traditional family or culture that you're in where they just don't understand why you love someone that you love, or if you had to come out and they don't understand why it is that you kind of are who you are, that's your business, basically, at the end of the day. And same thing for career paths. Maybe you were, encouraged to be a doctor and you really are a sculptor. Do what you feel like you have to do. This is your life. We live many lifetimes, but only one time in these, in this sort of trappings, in these shoes and in this body. So make the most of this lifetime. You get a lot of chances, but make each one count and start to, kind of graduate basically with each lifetime. The next thing, and I have an affinity for stars, is I really want you to try to see yourself as the North Star, not just one in a constellation, but the bright star, the one that's really shining. Be a star in a sea of darkness. Be the one that's kind of leading the way. And that's just something that I think that a lot of us have to keep pushing to do as we move through these sort of uncertain times and, turbulent waters. So that is very much connected to what we were just talking about. That might mean a unique voice or an innovative idea. I've seen, if I look back at the Great Recession that we came through in the earlier part of the 2000s, we emerged from that with really stronger companies. The economy rebounded. We had some great innovation, especially in the tech side. And so things bounce back. So sometimes it's kind of like the universe, right? You start from the Big Bang. Sometimes it depends on how you want to look at this. There are some universes out there that could contract and then expand. And I feel like this is kind of a normal process, is expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction. So we're just getting ready to expand again. But during this time of contraction is introspection and learning and kind of becoming whole again. Because as we scatter in the expansion phase, we kind of lose pieces of ourselves, pieces of the puzzle. This is your time to put that puzzle back together and to really, to rise like a phoenix, as I just saw in chat. So this is a great period right now. I feel like the roaring 20s are going to hit in the latter part of the decade. I've been talking about this year, but I really feel like we'll get we'll get a running start in 2022. 2021 is about healing, redirecting, resetting, if you didn't already do that with the sort of hydroplaning metaphor, and then planting and nurturing the seeds. I remember in a chat like last time, someone said, I'm tired of planting seeds. Well, you're going to starve if you don't continue to do that in your lifetime. Farmers know that as a fact. Every year you have to keep planting. As a human, as a spiritual being, you have to continue to plant, to sow, and to fertilize the seeds of your dreams and your life. It doesn't just stop and get easy. You start to kind of get more adept at dealing with the challenges. So become the cosmic gardener that I was talking about. I think Pisces or Aquarius, I was talking about that. So we're all cosmic gardeners or spiritual gardeners. Continue to grow in that space, in that area. The last thing was really interesting, and it didn't surprise me. The message here from my guides and yours is to stay clear as you enter into 2020. I'll read the cards, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about what they mean. So start the new year with a clear mind, body, and spirit. Avoid toxins. We're going to light a candle at the very end to bring in the light to help all of our prayers be heard. So I have a little candle on the side that I'll light, and I'll let it burn out today. But when I first had the New Year's celebration where I did yoga, I thought, this is so weird. I'm practicing yoga for like 3 hours on New Year's Eve. But it was amazing because instead of getting drunk or eating too much or staying up too late or whatever, I was sitting there really connecting, clearing my body. And right at the moment that the clock was setting midnight, I was the clearest and most kind of open that I had been in a long time. And I thought, yeah, this is the way to start a year. Not drunk, not eating too much, not sort of lost and numbing everything down. So don't numb yourself. Sharpen your intuition. You can still have a sip of champagne if you want to, but don't go overboard. Everything in moderation. I think it's really important to start on a clear note rather than a muddied note. So however you can do that, give it a shot, see how it feels. You can always have champagne the next day, but I think you want to try to start the new year on the best possible note. And that's something that my guides were reminding me as I was meditating. Okay, let's get into the fun stuff. Let's take a look at the cards. I probably will not review this beginning portion just because we have a lot to get through. And again, it's like a 3-in-1 reading today. So everything I'll go through once, and then I'll try to kind of bring up some salient points at the in-between points between this. So we're going to look first at a general reading, then we're going to focus on love, and we'll see what's coming through there, and then we'll look at abundance. So how's everyone doing? And what are you trying to bring in for the new year? Let me know. By the way, in the comments below, please feel free to, especially when this is on replay, let me know what you'd like to see in collective readings over the course of the new year. I didn't cover this, but I'm going to cover this now. I'm not going to have time to answer questions here. So for some of you that might be here for the first time, feel free to use Super Chat. Super Chat is a great way to show support. And it's this little icon right here next to the smiley face emoji. So if you like what you see, send a Happy New Year sticker or a positive thought for the collective. And thank you in advance for that. And I'll try to give some gratitude at the end in a pinned comment. But enough about that. Let's take a look at the cards and see what's coming through. I'm using the Sun and Moon deck for this first spread. Okay, so I'm going to set the intention here to really be, how can we start the new year off on the best note, and what general messages are coming through for all of us to be our best in January. All right, everybody, thank you so much for giving me a moment to set everything up. Special thanks, by the way, to my moderator, Maria, for showing up on the holiday today. All right, let's take a look now at the main message here in the catalyst. So the way that I organize this is in the catalyst, it really is our connective thread to everything in front of us here. How to stay in the most positive light, how to really be our strongest self, and how to make things happen, how to manifest. It's interesting because last night I was walking and I noticed that we had a waning gibbous moon, basically a full moon that is starting to go back into a crescent. And I thought, what a good and auspicious way to begin New Year's, because if it was full, we would still have to be kind of focusing on releasing. But because it's starting to become a sort of a weaker and moon going more towards a new moon, we can start to plant the seeds. There might be a little bit of release work to do, but this is really about manifestation. And I love that we're looking at this very close to the heart chakra on this particular illustration. So really connecting with that heart energy is going to be important, and finding the light within, not relying on the light of others or the guidance of others. And I think that's one of the things that we've had to learn in isolation this year, is to basically come out of the hermit phase, right? This is almost like the hermit integrating with the star. And I love the energy here. And if you look at this a little closer, the card was reversed, which is just showing us maybe some hesitation or uneasiness about this. But we have a night scene here. We have the moon overhead, and it's almost like the moon itself, that divine goddess energy coming through. So there's definitely some divine feminine energy coming through. And the heart space is really what she is encouraging us to work with. So we're going to look at that a little bit more in the second reading that I'll be doing today. But heal yourself and then heal others. Really important for those of us that are playing the role of parent or healer or nurse right now, and there's a lot of that going on where you're taking care of someone that's sick, or you're trying to help people around you that are lost, make sure that you aren't lost yourself. Take care of yourself. Rekindle that light because they're looking to you. Don't look around you. You've got to find that light within. All right, we're going to look at these two cards together. The center card is the Nine of Swords, but it was crossed by the Wheel of Fortune, which is auspicious. It's change. It's positive. Let's look a little closer at the illustration. I really like the Sun and Moon deck because it shows us that oftentimes swords are part of our fears. They're not necessarily part of reality. And so with this, we can see her on the cloud, but she has all of these swords kind of adding up in her head. So sometimes we can think ourselves into a prison. We start to think of all of the different ways something can go wrong, all of the different things that we could do better, all of the things that haven't worked out the way that we want. One of the things that you can do to counteract this is to work on gratitude and look at how things might be shifting in a positive direction for you. The Wheel of Fortune is a great sort of metaphor for that. Life always moves forward. Change is inevitable. And this is a calming and an important thing to remember when things aren't going the way we want them to, because it means that it won't be this way forever. Everything kind of has a time and a place. So as we ease out of 2020 and a lot of the pain and a lot of the difficulty, something better will come across. This is a change in job for some of you, by the way. I mean, the Wheel of Fortune is saying, I can't deal with this stress anymore. I need to do something different, something more fulfilling. It's not always about money. It could be about what feeds your heart, because when we look at the catalyst, that's what she's saying. The wheel is right there in her heart. Follow yourself, follow your passion. You won't be led astray if that happens. And release this sort of stress that you've been dealing with. Talk to someone if you need to. But what I see here are positive changes on the horizon. So we'll look at the other cards and see how you can embrace and bring about the Wheel of Fortune, which is the true energy, because it's crossing this and it's telling you how to fix that. So it's important for you to find a sense of completion, fulfillment, and to keep moving forward. As we said with the 30-day challenge, every day do a little something special to move toward your goal, your passion, or something that you want to change in your life. Okay, so we have Queen of Swords here, reversed. Don't be afraid to be outspoken. This was the be bold, be heard card that we talked about. I love Queen of Swords. When she's reversed, she really isn't kind of beating around the bush. She's going to get straight to the point and say, this is what needs to happen. Here's how we need to do it. And I think that's important for you right now. There's no more time to maybe sort of sugarcoat things. The only thing that's important with Queen of Swords reversed energy is to make sure that you know the full story and that you are still sensitive to the other person's energy and situation. Knowing and listening to all of that is going to help you be a more effective communicator. And even someone who's direct can be direct but sensitive. They're not oxymorons. They don't have to be. So anyway, enough said with that. It's interesting that I talked about the Six of Wands earlier. We have it reversed, which is saying you don't need to worry about people loving you or supporting you. You need to worry about what you want to do, because that's going to be the magnetic energy. Think of that old horseshoe magnet. If you are trying to focus too much on what they want, it actually for you might be a repulsive energy. You want to focus more on what you love, and then you become that horseshoe that is pulling these things towards you. So I see success and recovery, if you will, as an inevitability for you, but only if and only if you really focus on doing what's right for you. Some of us, I mean, especially any of us born in the last century, we were kind of raised in a way sometimes where it's sort of like, you know, you're supposed to do what's expected. There are some things that you just don't talk about. There are some things that you can't change. And the cool thing that we're seeing right now is that not only can you, but you must change to adapt. So don't worry about peer pressure or family pressure. And if you are in a position right now where either you are reliant on someone or you may be too young and you're still in an environment where you don't have, you know, all the say, set things up so that once you can set yourself free, then you embrace that freedom and it's yours and you can do whatever you want. That's the end goal for some of you. For the rest of you, it's just saying, don't beat yourself up. Don't compare yourself so much to others, and don't put so much into external validation. Do it because you want to do it. Do it because it feels right. Don't do it because someone says that it's right, or for the express purpose of that group love. It's stronger if you feel it. I love that we have a Wands card here in the crowning position. We have Princess of Wands, which is a page in this deck. So this is about sending and receiving messages. And this is more of a cognitive than a verbal. It can be nonverbal. It can be how you're holding yourself. So one of the things that I would say for you, it's upright, which means this is your strength. And by the way, look at the cat on there. It reminds me a little bit of, I mean, it's a tiger here, but reminds me a little bit about what I was seeing in my meditation. So with this, the fact that the cat that I was seeing changed its coat, it was kind of going between being a Bengal and a tabby. I would say just be the sort of strong, almost wild tiger that we see here, and follow your true dream and your true energy, your passion, your fire, like we see, and demonstrate that, live that, walk the walk, don't just talk the talk. And I think that's really the main message with that. Ace of Pentacles, what a wonderful card to come in the near future for you. So I would say for you, as we look at this, you can look at this in a lot of ways. It can be a coin, it can be a seed, it can be an egg, but this is kind of what we're trying to plant for the new year. Whatever you had, I see something better, or I see something growing from that. Continue to work on that. Again, this could be deciding that you want to go to school, start a new job. This could be asking someone to commit to you, like a marriage proposal. This can also be you taking an idea that you have and really trying to get other people interested in it. It's a new beginning. Ace of Pentacles is one of the most exciting cards because it's really just about growth. It's not tied expressly to love or communication or anything like that. This is anything you want it to be. It's kind of like a wild card. So I want you to be thinking as we do this, the several parts of the reading today, what it is you want to call in, especially with respect to love and abundance, so that as I start to read, I'll pick up on that. And also as we meditate later, we can plant this sort of cosmic seed for your garden, right? Okay, you got another ace in the ego. We have the Ace of Swords. And I love that this one has a crown on it. So for this is really where you can find your power. We talked before about speaking your truth. I would say this is also about making sure that you understand the power of words and thoughts. We have the Page of Wands, the Ace of Pentacles, and the Ace of Swords. So this to me is got a little bit of everything. We're getting the magician energy right here, right? Manifestation. So what you think, what you say is going to start to really have a massive effect on what's going on in your life. Some of you, especially the artistic or creative or maybe even sort of hands-on type out there, are going to be able to make a difference with what you're saying. So capitalizing on spoken or written word, even as it could be something like a curriculum or a patent. It doesn't have to just be like a book or a painting or anything like that. But your communication and your ideas, packaging those up is going to be really important. So think of a way to articulate what you're trying to say and what you're trying to do so that other people can get on board with that. Because these two cards, you couldn't ask for much better with that. You've got two aces here, near future and then your power, which is your way to communicate that. So idea and then communication or execution of it. As I look at your environment, we have the Hierophant in reverse, which is the rebel, basically. Hierophant is someone who is stuck in a structure or navigates structures very well. Hierophant in reverse is rebellious and says, you know what? I'm going to take some TNT and I'm going to change this. We're going to deconstruct the old system and we're going to reconstruct something new. So you're being challenged to understand how it works and then maybe turn it on its head and try something different and look at it from another angle. So if you feel like you're stuck or if you feel like you've been spinning your wheels, thinking of like hydroplaning, then this is the chance for you to sort of repackage it. And you could be talking to someone about that. If you want to stay in your current job, for instance, you could say, I've been doing all of this, but this is what I really love. And I have an idea. What if we try this? It could also be about going out on your own. This could be a conversation with someone who is unwilling to see you, or to, this can be like a father or mother figure who is trying to kind of rule with an iron fist. And this is you finding your freedom from that and trying to articulate, this is what I want. That's what you want. You can't vicariously sort of live your life through me. So breaking through the hierarchy, establishing your own voice and leadership, again with the Ace of Swords, and possibly at the risk of upsetting some people in your life, deciding, I need to go my own way. I need to try this because this is what my heart and soul is asking for, right? All right, here's the High Priestess energy. Also reverse. We have a few reversals, which is okay. It's a new year, and we're coming through some hiccups, right? The High Priestess is great, though, because this is intuition personified. So don't doubt yourself. Really listen to what I was talking about earlier, the initial thought, feeling, or energy that you pick up on when you meet or read or touch or whatever it is, however you interact with someone or something, that first spark that you feel, that's your High Priestess energy. Honor it. Otherwise, you're going to probably later look back and think, that's what it was about, or I should have listened to myself, right? We finally have Three of Pentacles. And for many of you, this can be read a couple of ways. Because it's reversed, some of us are just struggling with the new way that we have to sort of learn and work. That's what this is. But the other thing is that we can, just like I said with the Hierophant, we can turn it on its head. There are new ways to talk about things. There are new ways to teach things. There are new ways to digest things. And I think that what we're all being called to do right now is to innovate. Enough with the sort of homogenization and hegemony and all that stuff that we had before. Like, let's break free from that stuff and become something different. And really, this is how we can get into the sort of booming mind, body, spirit energy and booming economy. We have to start to create new methods and new ways. So you might have a better way. Again, this is an idea. This is a curriculum. This is higher education. This is you expanding on something and investing in yourself and mastering it, by the way. Eight of Pentacles would tell me you have a lot of work to do. Three of Pentacles tells me you're already further along that path than you think. You're close to mastery. There might be something that you need, a certificate, a signature, an approval, or an internal validation from yourself that I've got this. And once you allow that to happen, fireworks, right? Which is appropriate since this is a day where we see fireworks, right? Let's expand the forecast, look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. We'll not be doing that in the sort of latter readings, but for here, we're going to do it just generally speaking because it's general. All right, so let's look at how we can be healthier this year. Or if I do it, I'm going to do it specifically in the vein of love. We'll see. So for health this month, it is about releasing the need to focus so much on success. I know that there is no greater goal than to love. It's funny. This is about success, but it's saying like love and be loved. That's the key focus. And I say that a lot. That's the energy of the universe, right? So this is already happening. Success is really there if you love yourself, if you feel that love, if you honor that energy. So that's what I'm seeing. And then the interesting thing here is with the stress card at the center, with the Nine of Swords, as you start to evaluate where you are or what you're putting your time and energy into, what is the return on it for you? How do you feel at the end of a shift, at the end of a day, at the end of a session, whatever it is? And in the case of a relationship too, if you've been investing a lot, but there's no return on that, where is that leaving you? So this is really about taking the scales of justice and thinking yes or no, making a decision. Success is not about letters after your name, awards or badges that you're wearing, dollar signs or pound signs in your account, your bank account. It's really about how do I feel? So if you feel good, then you're successful. If you don't, then the trappings around you actually are those. They're trappings. They're trapping you in. So this is a chance to liberate. We have the Wheel of Fortune and we have the Ace of Pentacles here. So there are opportunities that will be opening up. One of the things is to allow yourself to see them and to allow yourself to try something different, because change requires a leap of faith, requires a little bit of a chance, taking a chance on yourself. So that's what I see here with health. It's really about finding that freedom in your life. A more specific health message that comes through when I look at Nine of Swords is, how are you sleeping? Do you have a traditional sort of schedule in place? If not, this might be a good practice for the month of January, trying to go to bed at a similar time, setting an alarm that's consistent on your phone or on your smart device to kind of wake you up. and see if that helps a little bit. That's the main sort of health card that I see here. So I think if you start to focus on getting ample sleep or taking care of those things that are running through your head before you go to sleep at night, that's going to be important. All right. As we look at wealth, now it's actually going into emotions here, passion and pleasure. Savor your life. I would even say by savoring it, you're kind of saving your life. So love what you do. Don't just sort of like do what you love and love what you do. But if you're kind of ticking away the hours and thinking, when is this day over? When is this job going to be finished? When am I going to retire? If you're always looking towards the end rather than sort of being present, that's a wake-up call too. If you're on the flip side of this, then you're on the right track. If you love what you do, that fire is burning, the wheel of fortune is moving in the right direction, and you're getting validation that you're on the right path. Reach out to people around you that you trust, that share your passion. For those of you looking for a new path or the support as you go onto that new path, then they're going to be there to help you through the sort of waters that are kind of up and down, the tumultuous waters. So let them help you do that. But yes, I agree with what I just read there. Wealth is health. So it's interesting that these two have kind of flipped in the expanded forecast. I'm not seeing anything bad with respect to new growth or careers because, again, we have the Wheel of Fortune and the Ace of Pentacles. By the way, it's really interesting. I forgot to mention this for health. This can involve birthing something in your life, including a child. So for some of you, there might be something really big that you're going to release over the course of the next year. Just focus on continuing to nurture that, whatever it is. All right. Looking at love, which we'll be focusing on right after this section, some things are starting to bubble up to the surface. What I like about this particular card, we have the beautiful heart energy here with all the green, but look at all the other cool stuff. It's like a kaleidoscope. Do you remember those? Well, if you've ever seen an old-fashioned sort of kaleidoscope that you can turn around, all these sort of fractal shapes turn in and out of it. Reminds me of this a little bit. So I want you to sort of see how your energy can bubble up and show all of this like different facets, different sides of yourself. It's just kind of like the citrine crystal that I have here. Each side, each sort of striation in it shows a different kind of energy and looks a little bit different. We're not unlike a crystal or any sort of stone. This one's really cool too, where you can kind of see, you know, the different sort of colors, and each striation actually shows something new. So we're kind of in that energy right now of sort of discovering who are we and what are we trying to create, right? So you are a kaleidoscope. You have multiple sides. You aren't in a sort of neat little box. I don't have a box, it's a visual aid, but we need to break free of those boxes because they don't allow us to grow. It's kind of like a plant. They need to have the roots need to kind of breathe a little bit, and you have to get a bigger pot if you want to see growth. So this is a time for you to kind of repot yourself, if you will, and in relationships. So for some of you, you might need to be spreading out a little bit in a bigger home. Maybe you need to spread your rings of independence a little bit. The other thing is to show more sides of yourself, because as you start to become more vulnerable, people see you differently and you might attract new people in your life. Follow your first impression when we see the High Priestess here, right? So she's in the possibility space, which is saying anything's possible, be open to it, but also really pay attention to the third eye, to the heart, to the gut, to all of the sort of energy that you pick up on, however you feel it. All right, your final card, which I call Destiny in this spread, is telling you where you're headed. We have the Air Guardian here saying shift your perception. So you may actually be exactly where you need to be, but it requires a different point of view, which is what Queen of Swords was telling us here, right? If I can just express myself and look at it upside down. The way I'm reading the upside down cards today are look at it from another angle. And that's how I look at them in general, because it's just another way to perceive the cards. So think more positively of yourself, think more positively of others, think of other things that could happen in your life, and don't limit yourself on any level. And I think this is going to be really key to your happiness and to your success. Okay. So yeah, it was labradorite, by the way. Thank you. Okay, so those are the main messages here. And as I scan them again, the sort of main thing that I see here is a positive cycle that's beginning with the Wheel of Fortune and the Ace of Pentacles. And I think it's really important to do things because they feel authentic and they feel right for you. Really positive energy overall. So I'm excited to see where this leads. All right. I don't do this often, but I'm going to move into love. So I'm going to put these cards over here just in case I need to see them later. But we're going to focus now on love and see what messages come through with love. This particular love reading is going to focus on well, I'll let it kind of take whatever shape it wants. But one thing that I like to look at in love is where are you? How are you feeling? How receptive are you to love? What's going on to you? So I'd like to kind of, when I do a one-on-one reading for somebody and they ask me about someone in their life, a lot of times what I like to do is 3 different reads. So maybe in the future, maybe for February or something, if I want to do this, I'll do this. But I usually look at who you are and where you're at. What's your energy saying? And then I'll also see what's going on around you. Then I look at what the other person thinks. And then I look about what you think about that person. Because I don't want to be here for 3 hours today, I'm going to do one reading on love, and I'm going to try to put it all in one and sort of say, show me what I need to know. Where are you? Who's in your life? And what are the opportunities for like healing that's going on? So there will be a future one where I maybe just do the 3 different angles of love. So we'll look at that in a future one. But for today, we're going to focus on what you need to know to be your happiest and to heal things with relationships a bit. Okay. It always starts with you. There's a lot of readings out there that focus on your person. You are the center to that, and it's important for you to be centered, and that's really what I'm trying to help you with today, is to center yourself and to see your value as well, not to put it all in your person. It's you. You are your person, and the people around you react to that. I'm using the Light Seers deck for this one. Ooh, we got a ton that just flew out. Hold on a sec. I'm going to pull them one by one off the top here. All right, let's pull a couple of extra cards here. I'm going to look at it in a different perspective here. Okay. So we're going to be looking at where you're at and what's going on. And I think that's the only time probably in 6 years that the deck just exploded. So there's definitely a lot of pent up energy today for you guys. The important thing is to focus on, again, your fire, your perspective, your energy, because that's what we're seeing front and center here is someone really fanning the flame of their passion. And also kind of offering a piece of themselves a little bit like, this is where I'm at. Are you ready? Are you willing to receive? Taking that initiative. And that's the King of Swords here in reverse, just like the Queen, coming forth and saying, I'm ready. Are you ready? And I think the important thing with this King, I love that we have all the different forms of sort of like bird or flying creature that we could. We have the owl, we have the bat, we have a raven or crow. And what it's basically saying here is maybe try to limit or to clarify what you're trying to say and how you're trying to say it, so that you don't sort of scatter too much. So for this particular King of Swords, it's about narrowing or being more specific in the channel, so that people can understand what you're trying to do and how you're trying to say it. We have the World card, which is super exciting. Big changes in your life right now. When you speak that truth, the world can't help but to sort of start to shift around you. It's a really positive and I would say important step for all of us. Saying I love you, saying we need to talk, saying even just sort of like saying I want to try something new, or do you want to be a part of this? Like if it's a business engagement, when you start to initiate the connection, and it really is about a connection for many of you this month, when you start to hold out that hand and say, Is this something that you're interested in? That's powerful. Puts you in the position. It's interesting. We think of it as vulnerability. I think of it as power. If you're the one that actually initiates the conversation, you're the one that's setting the tone. And then the other person probably feels a sense of relief. And it puts you in a position of strength, power. And even if they say no, you got to kind of express yourself and you move on. There's not a lot to lose. Just maybe that they'll say no, but I'm not necessarily seeing that. So let's look at everything that's coming through here. For you, big changes abound if we look at it from a self level. For people around you, it means also that there's some new people coming in too, so changes. A chance to revisit, release, or renew something. The Eight of Cups for many of you means I'm done with it. But the Eight of Cups reverse is sort of like, are you really? So you might have somebody from the past walk back in and test you. So in the case of an adversary, this is basically the final chapter. It's just sort of them knocking on the door to see if you've learned your lessons. And in that case, you can say, class dismissed, thank you very much. It could be a second chance to make amends with somebody. And in this case, you say, I love you, I'm sorry. And you can also walk away, but with a lighter heart. It could be a missed opportunity in love. And in this case, you reevaluate and think, do I still feel the same that I used to? Has this person changed? Have I changed? And so this is a reevaluation card, particularly when it comes reversed. So there's a chance to clean up the past a little bit. Feel this out for yourself and see where you can do some work on all different relationships, whether it's family or loved ones. I feel like there's something that's kind of just hanging up there like a cobweb that needs to be cleared out. So either you're going to embrace that and fix it, or you're going to just blow that cobweb away and have a nice clean new year, right? It's so interesting. It came in the same position, also reversed. We have the Six of Wands here, saying, hey, it's really still about you, by the way. And we see the flame here saying, like, you're the one that's doing this. And as you start to do what you're supposed to do, then people will connect. But it's always starting here. So don't give in to peer pressure. Don't fall or buckle under family pressure. Don't pay attention to naysayers. For those of you that are creative people out there, if people are saying bad things about you, it's so much easier to criticize than to create, right? Can't remember who I heard say that recently, but bless them for saying that. Everybody's an armchair critic. You can write a nasty comment or a nasty review, but it's not really helping move the needle forward unless something was truly poor quality. There's a difference between reviewing, a bad detergent and then judging someone's art or judging someone's personality and just saying nasty things. Let's try to elevate. And if you're the victim of bullying or negative speech, tune it out. The people are trying to pull your frequency down. Just keep beaming out the positivity. Eventually, the light will diffuse the dark, and those little creepy crawlies will go back under the rocks, right? So don't worry about it. You're doing fine. Keep shining, because we can see it with the catalyst. You're doing fine. Keep shining. All right. Two of Cups. There is potential for new partnerships coming into your life this month. This is the crowning card. Are you open to it? Are you receptive to it? This is a very friendly Two of Cups, if you will. And I think that we also see with this that both of you have to sort of be bringing something to the plate and be equally as interested in creating something new and creating something excitement. We have the Strength card here in reverse. How are you feeling? How are you taking care of you? One of the things when we see this is you want to be the strongest version of yourself that you can, specifically and quite literally in your physical self, because this is the vessel that allows for the download of energy and also for you to channel that and share it with others. When this is weakened, then the message is weakened too. So take care of yourself. Get the sleep you need, nourish yourself the way you need to be nourished, talk to someone if you need to. All of that stuff is just as important as what kind of knowledge is here, what kind of love is here, and whatever perceived power you have. Your physical being does matter, and I include mental health, especially with that. Don't worry about what other people think. The Strength card is great. It's super strong. We've got I love that we have feline energy coming through really strong today. And it's sort of the shape-shifting energy that I was seeing with the cat in our channeled messages. But the thing with the Strength card is when she's reversed, she can be a little hard to take, just like the Empress. And I use she just as a general pronoun. That can be a guy, it can be a girl, it can be a non-conforming person. But basically the energy of the strength card can just sort of say, don't feel like you have to go in and fix people, even if you know how to make something better, because you're trained, because you're intuitive, because you think you know. Let people come to you and focus instead on that personal growth and development. That is going to help you a lot in relationships, because for some of you, this could be, if you're a parent, your children could just be feeling this sense of, I know you love me, but I need space. So find a way to test those, and same thing with a love relationship or a work relationship. Sometimes it's just about space and boundaries and not having to say I'm right or you're wrong or whatever. It's sort of like, okay, we'll work through this. We'll figure this out. Bridging the gap. When we look at the Six of Swords in reverse, this is actually about making sure that as we go into the new year, there is no sort of ghosting, because this card can sometimes be sort of missing in action, right? It's better to say goodbye than to just ignore, or to say, I can't do this, or I don't want to do this. Try to communicate. If you've been needing some time to yourself, there's nothing wrong with Six of Swords. It can be travel, it can be introspection, it can be personal space. Make sure that you're also dipping back in and saying hello and I love you and checking in with people too. So it's just about making sure that the distance has been, the gap has been bridged, and that there's no sort of bridges that have been blown up when it comes to leaving someone or something. Make sure communication is open. Make sure that you're really making the best possible use of every situation. Now, if there is someone in your life that won't take no for an answer, sometimes you have to just block, delete, ignore. But if you can avoid it, if you can try to course correct, do it. And then that's sort of like last ditch effort, right? So when you can't do anything else, that's always an option. But try not to have to get there unless you have to, basically. There could be someone in your life that is not showing up the way that you need them to. What they are revealing for you as we look in the environment is there could be something better, and also not to diminish your own light. I love that we see this person reconnecting with their higher self. So in the space between the sort of connections that the two of you have, really focus now on what are they bringing, what am I bringing, and what am I looking for in love? This is a deep soul partner. This is a soulmate. So it feels like some of you have either met your soulmate because that's in your environment, or you're actively working at calling in that soulmate. And I like to warn people or just prepare them with a soulmate. Soulmate isn't always just like, think of it as a rose, right? Beautiful, fragrant, lovely, thorns too. Because soulmates contain karmic energies. Sometimes it's benevolent, it's wonderful, because you've built this beautiful history together and it's just bright light. But sometimes there's baggage. And when there's the baggage, then you have to go through the thorns before you can get to that beautiful rose. So soulmates are not perfection personified. They are someone of a deep, deep connection to you, where there's maybe still some work to be done. And one of the areas where that work could be done is in communication and openness and frankness, and not kind of walking away. If there's someone in your life that won't have a discussion with you, let's not call it an argument, but it's important for us to disagree and to work through those disagreements, because we learn from that, right? And to listen, like, why don't I agree with you? Tell me a little bit more about this. Healthy relationships, you're able to kind of dissolve that and say, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. All right, let's try it. And then if not, let's try what I said. If the person storms out, if they just hold up their hand, if they walk away, that's a red flag. So this is your chance to go higher, to call in higher, and to make sure that they're giving you the chance to say what you need to say, and vice versa. This is in the fear area. So I feel like many of you have already resolved this. We have the Ten of Swords. The card is reversed, and this isn't a painful Ten of Swords. This person's they're still standing and they're walking away from it. We see all of the birds here, which can be the thoughts in our head. So for some of us, we still have some of those persistent thoughts flying around. And so I feel like this is the cobwebs again. I talked about that a little bit earlier. So do some cleaning upstairs in your mind. We'll meditate today, but you can also meditate at the stroke of midnight, and really imagine that, kind of like making a wish on your birthday cake, you're going to blow out that old sort of candle of the past year and you're going to light something new, start something new, start a new phase. So make a wish and then light a new candle and start something brand new. Let go of the old. Avoid arguing, of course, with the Ten of Swords. And we're not looking at health with this, but there's still the element of pain involved with this. So if there's a relationship and you're constantly feeling the sense of aggravation, and it seems persistent or chronic, because that's one of the attributes of the Ten of Swords, then it's time to wake up. Enough of that, right? We have two really big movement cards for you, the Wheel of Fortune and the Fool. I like this. These are the bookmarks to the major arcana, right? So the Fool is basically, I'm going to try something different. I'm going to try something new. So if a relationship's been breaking down, you have to try something new. Maybe you found someone and that's scary because that's also new. But the center was crossed by the Wheel of Fortune, which tells us you're headed in the right direction. So the changes that are happening, the new people that are coming in, which by the way, seem to have star energy, it's good. Also, you're being seen as the star by others too. Again, I was talking about that great magnet. There's a song by Katie Lang called Constant Craving. And it's like this, she talks about being like this great magnet that pulls you towards things. I just thought of that in my head. And it's kind of appropriate for a love reading. Constant craving has always been. So we're always looking for something better. We're always looking for something more. Remember, it's within. Remember, as we go higher, we can find that. And we can see that sort of design in all of it, which was kind of what I was reminded of by that song, which is a great song, by the way. Check it out on Spotify or iTunes for those of you that are younger that haven't heard it. All right. Interesting card as I look at what's healthy for you in a relationship. Freedom. And it's so interesting because when you think of if you are single and happy, you probably already know this, but also for those of you that are in relationships, that freedom is kind of sometimes what we give up. It's like you're constantly on this search for finding someone, and then all of a sudden you miss this. So finding ways to carve out freedom, whether you're in a relationship or just meeting someone, or if you're single, to embrace this, that's so important. It says, I possess the power and the free will to create my own happiness. Remember that that person is there to reflect, to celebrate, and to react to your internal emotions, but they are not your battery, and they will not provide the happiness for you. You are in it together. And this is saying, if you're not happy, also look within and use your freedom to decide, I want to do this, I don't want to do this. I'm interested in this, I'm not interested in this. Use your free will. That's the Fool, freedom, right? I just saw single as a Pringle. You guys are funny. Usually I look at this as like single and happy, in a relationship or looking for love. So I'm going to try to I'll sum it up at the end for all three of those, but I think I'm hitting on all of those pieces today. Looking at how can you grow? Wealth is going to be different in the terms of a relationship. It's like, am I fulfilled? How can I find more worth? There's a lot of messages around distance, right? So of course, some of us are just missing the connection to others, but you can be in the same room and 100 miles away, right? So for those of you that are in a relationship, what's happening to the communication with the Six of Swords, the Ten of Swords? Is it kind of breaking down, or have you moved past some of those patterns? So if that's something that you need to work on, this is just a reminder of that. For those of you that are single and looking, this is saying it's probably not, your next door neighbor. This is going to be someone that is distant, especially with this. The fact that we have the Six of Swords and the Star right next to each other could show that the next significant partner in your life or friend in your life could be from another country, could be from a great distance. So open your heart and expand your horizons in those respectives. If you're if you're single and happy, what I'm seeing here is enjoy the space, enjoy the freedom. Things are good for you right now. And this is probably a really comfortable period because you can focus on work, you can be independent, and it's fine. I still see that partnerships want to come through for you though. So this could be really auspicious for business. This is a card of expansion, publication, dissemination, broadcasting. So for some of you, it's your voice, it's your words, it's your vision that is going to be that great magnet that it pulls people in. Specifically looking at love, it's about harmony. We have the music card here and we see a couple of hearts or this kind of It doesn't matter if this is upright or reversed, it's the same sort of things. It's complementary energy. So realizing that it's not all about your partner. You called some of that into existence. So what can you learn from the things that drive you crazy about your partner and the things that you love about your partner? And if you're single and happy, keep working on yourself. If you're single and looking, keep working on yourself. Music, though, is about really making something that you love. And it should be something that pleases you, sounds good to you, first and foremost. Again, we're constantly seeing a message in this sort of collective reading about not succumbing to the expectations of the collective, ironically. It's about you, okay? Always has been, always will be. And then we finally see shedding this old skin here. It's a snake. And so the card was actually reversed, which points up, which I see as auspicious too. Things are going in the right direction. But it might involve changing the way you think, changing your perspective, as we were looking at earlier, and realizing that there's more than one way to look at things. So overall, I really like what I'm seeing with respect to love. And with this being in the crowning and this being in the outcome, that's telling me new opportunities are coming through, but it just requires a leap of faith, a little bit of personal trust. And for those of you that are specifically looking for sign information, Strength card is assigned to Leo, so that might be someone that's coming into your life as well. The Star card, though, for me tells me that you will, it's beyond sort of like star sign or age or anything like this. This would be a deep soul connection. So could be a best friend. I've had friends that are soulmates, and this resplendent animal down here, Apollo, he's a soulmate of mine. So you can also have that connection with animals as well, horses and dogs and cats, etc. Okay, let's move along to abundance. I really like the messages for you. Just don't be afraid. Open up your communication channels and take that leap of faith. It looks like this is a good time to move forward. Okay. All right. We're going to look at abundance, and I want to think for a moment about this. Let's look at where the opportunity to grow is and what could be blocking you from that growth. Abundance is money, opportunity, resources, I should say. Also, just the family and the community around you. So all of those things. I'll turn the camera down. You guys are talking about Apollo. He's taking a little nap right now. All right, I'm going to use a different deck for this. We're going to use the fountain deck here because it's nice and bright and airy. And yeah, let's set that intention just to see what the messages are so that you can really expand in all horizons. And then we'll meditate after that. Paula was up early. When I do the live readings, I get up around 5 or 6 a.m. to get everything ready, and I had a lot of decks and a lot of things to get ready. So he's like, I'm taking a nap. I can already see this is the most, there's the most change in this particular spread than I've seen with anything today. All right, let's take a look at abundance. There was a short time when I used to do weeklies. It's just too time consuming with all the lives, but I had a little sequence in that I called blessings and blocks. So let's take a look at the blessings and the blocks in abundance. And that's really what this is about. Okay, this is the cosmic gardener that I talked about earlier, because we see this wonderful energy between two trees, and we see this sort of younger tree and a person starting to take care of that, starting to make sure that it's being trimmed, being taken, basically being nurtured, and that it's getting the proper nourishment. It's also kind of growing into that person. I meditate a lot with trees for that reason, because we can connect with the earth, we can reach up to the sky. So one of the things that you can do, even in cold weather, you can go out and touch a tree for a second, really connect with that and allow yourself to feel the grounding energy of Mother Nature. But when we're looking at this from the point of abundance, it's about that sapling that she's holding. And I had a reunion a few years back. This was back in 2014 or something, but I went back to my old neighborhood. And when I was a kid, my dad on like Arbor Day or something had, I think maybe it was a dozen little pine trees, but they were just literally like one little puff of like the little needles. And it was just these little tiny things, nothing more than 6 inches. But I planted them all around this creek and randomly around the property. And then, like 20 or 30 years later, I went back and I looked at them, and they were trees, full grown trees, really big. And it's kind of like that, anything in our life, it takes time. You don't realize how far something can go. And so for your abundance, just plant the seed, and sometimes let it go. Like just sometimes deciding I want to do this. That decision is so powerful. It creates what we see here, the tower, allowing for a big change in the future. So the decision in and of itself could be the most amazing thing. So I want you to decide what you want to do, who you are. Nobody can tell you that but you. I can show you opportunities. I can show you energetic pathways, but it's you. You're the alchemist. You're the gardener. You have to really make up your mind. So this card is saying, who are you? What do you want to do? And are you willing to put the work in to see this thing grow? Because if so, some cool stuff will happen. Don't think too much about the work that it takes. Just keep showing up. Okay. Can't remember the exact phrase that one of my yoga teachers used to say, but it's sort of like show up and you'll be held up or something like that. But I agree with that. The more you keep working on it, the more the universe supports you in your endeavor. All right. So we have temperance reversed. Temperance is really about how patient am I right now? And I feel like some of you are at this point where it's like, I can't wait anymore. It has to happen now. So this is just saying, wait a little bit more. Just kind of try not to get in your own way of something naturally happening. Sometimes we're given a pause for a reason. This to me is more of a hesitation than the Hanged Man reverse, which is I really need to get out of this. We have the Page of Cups on top of this, which is, it could just boil down to how happy are you? The internal happiness is going to deal a lot with the patience. The impatience with the way something's moving might be because there's a lot of work that you have to also do in a relationship, just personal happiness and health. So focus on getting centered first, and then look and see if you still feel that desire to move. And if you do, then do it. You have free will. But this is saying check the emotions and make sure that the emotions aren't tripping you up. Temperance is usually a really good card because it's saying you have exactly just the right amount of patience to get everything balanced. So it feels like as we're looking at the next year and the first month, there could just be a period at the beginning where you think, why isn't everything going a little faster, as we said earlier? Some of you, this is totally understandable because we have the Four of Pentacles. Limited resources. Hello, I get it. That is 2020. But it's also a foundational card, and this also is showing you weathering the storm, right? So we see sort of a winter scene here and the foundation for something new. So let's take those requisite pieces of whatever it is you're trying to create and rekindle it, make the most of it. I'm so interested that the Queen and King of Swords keep coming through. We don't get a lot of other signs. These are radically different decks. I've been shuffling all of them. But For some of you, this could be the person or people that come through to help make this happen. This can also show you getting into a new energetic sphere, going from kind of feeling like you know what you want to really knowing it and really starting to own it. We'll look at these cards in depth together, but I had to kind of show the pairing a little bit. All right, Queen of Swords. So in this particular deck, we see her kind of navigating through challenges in front of her. She's a little bit obstructed if you look at the energy. So she has to kind of like a sort of like a Jedi kind of cut through that, or like a samurai, find a way to get through that. And so some of you are being challenged to find new ways to navigate and to not lose who you are or what you're trying to say. Don't water things down. And that's so true and especially powerful for those of you that are trying to be seen or to be heard. We're sometimes taught to look, sound, dress, and be like everyone else. Sometimes the weirder, the more original, and the more outlandish you are, the more you're remembered. I mentioned music is a cool thing to kind of look at because most of us know music, so I'll talk about it. Harry Styles is a recent example of someone who's like, I don't care what you think. This is what I look like. This is what I sing like. This is me. We can look at someone like David Bowie as a younger version, like an earlier version of that too, which is sort of like, I'm not going to, and Prince. Those are three men, for instance, that don't kind of sit in the gender lines. Annie Lennox is a woman that also is in that. And maybe even more recently, Miley Cyrus. They're all sort of like, I don't care what you think. This is my point of view. This is my music. This is what I have to say. And you all know who they are because they're unusual. There's a lot of other, I can't remember all the names of people in like boy bands and girl bands. There's always a member here and there that you can't, but you know those references that I just gave you because they're unusual, right? So the more unusual, the more unique, the more singular you can be. Or E.E. Cummings is as like a poet or something, like someone who's out there and provocative. The more weird you are, sometimes the better. So I think that your power comes in your voice. I've never seen so many swords in 3 consecutive spreads. So don't lose who you are. Make sense? Okay. 8 of Swords. But I want to be seen. Am I seen? What's going on? Sometimes this is a feeling of not knowing how you're being perceived or what's going on around you. And we do see the blindfolds on this person here. As we see here, though, she might be pulling that in around herself. It could also just be imagined. And with it being reversed, I actually see a coming out or a revelation energy around this as well. So this is your chance to rise above, to release the old sort of any kind of connections that were holding you back, and just say, I don't care what people think. I see me, and I'm going to do what I need to be doing. All right, so again, with abundance, you have to state your intention. King of Swords. So if you want to be considered for a raise at work, you have to have that conversation. If you want if you want to date someone, you might have to be the one that swipes in the right direction, texts them, asks them out, takes the step there. If you want to publish your book, you might have to publish it yourself. You might have to do whatever you want to do on your own. And that doesn't mean that it's wrong. It means that that's what's necessary to get it out there. Speaking of Prince, he broke from his label too, so he could do his own thing. So that's another idea of someone just saying, I'm so far out there that I have to do my own thing. He eventually came back and then used his name again. But sometimes individuality requires sort of like this declaration of independence, right? So for some of you, I see a break. And for some of you, this might be a break with a contract or a break with a partner or a partnership. If that's necessary, that's fine. We see this being very prismatic. So we went from being confined and kind of like crumpled into the energy to being prismatic and very world-like. See, now it's kind of broadcasting on all bands. So whatever you need to do to be able to be yourself, that's the most important message that's come through all the time, all throughout all of these readings, rather. All right. The only thing that's holding you back, crowning card is 8 of Swords. Ego is the 2 of Swords. There's some doubt going on here. And you're not always going to have everything laid out neatly in front of you. Even if you read cards, there's going to be some unknowns. In this deck, there's actually a special card that comes up for unknowns. But this is sometimes a difficult choice. There isn't going to be a black and white answer in front of you. So you have to follow what at that moment adds up best on paper or feels best to you, and then trust and then deal with that decision. Staying in the indecision will clog up wherever you're headed, or it clogs up the opportunities. So the main blocks, these are really useful things. I like it when we see potential blocks because it can get you through a fear of the unknown and an indecisive state. I don't know what to do, right? Let's look at the environment around you. Just like we saw earlier, the Nine of Swords. Are you happy? Are you feeling a sense of stress wherever you're at? This was back in the general. If so, then it's time to kind of walk away from that. But we've been seeing like 9 and 10 of Swords coming up a few times here. So for some of you, notice how this is less about what's in their head, and it's also kind of, in this case, about cords and connections. So it's in the environment, which is really interesting. It's reverse, which is saying, I'm going to cut the cords. I'm going to look for unconditional love, unconditional support, and unconditional growth opportunities. It's not based on who I am, what I do, or how much I'm making you happy. It's based on the quality of what I'm doing. And so it feels like unconditionality, if that's a word, I'm not making it up and you just deal with it, is what's necessary. This need for you to kind of find this flexibility. I like the Tower. I know, call me crazy, when it's reversed. This is in the opportunity space. So the reverse Tower is basically like an architect. You're going to get into your life and you're going to break down a wall. You're going to put in a new window. You're going to move the furniture around. So you have to make some changes. You might want to move. You might want to quit a job. You might want to change 180, exactly what you're doing, go in a different direction, change. This is what will open up abundance to you. This particular spread, I'm going to do a little bit of a mini review because there's a lot of important messages. But and the last thing here is to not get in your headspace too much. It's the Page of Wands, really light card, so I'll pull it close. When it's reversed, it's about sometimes trying to force or go against the flow. I would say, kind of like we were talking about with the hydroplaning. If you got turned around or if you've been inspired to try something else, don't try to force yourself to go back. Follow that. Just like hydroplaning, you can't sometimes correct. You have to just kind of go with the flow, pump the brakes a little bit, and then take a moment to see where you're at. So I feel like the same thing is true here. It's time to rebuild. It's time to kind of move around a bit. And it feels like the things holding you back are fear of movement, fear of the unknown, and maybe just the connections that people have on you that are trying to hold you in. Welcome, by the way, to all the new channel members. So let's take a look now and see how we can expand on this a little bit more. And we're going to look at how healthy this is and how much you can grow in it, etc. All right, so how can you find healthy opportunities in the year ahead? It boils down to the people in your life, as we were talking about, even when I was looking at the general, who you know can help you get what you need in your life. I'm attracted to those people who serve my higher good. It's not just about an ego thing either. This is really about saying, all right, this is where my heart is flowing. This is where I feel like I need to be. I want to start to find my family, my chosen family, my tribe. And together we can encourage each other to be our best. We can help each other to be our best. So instead of codependency, it's cooperation, like instead of codependency, cooperation. So that's really what this is about, a cooperative, co-op type energy where everybody is equally invested in the collective, just like we're doing today, a collective. So relationships can open up or unlock these opportunities for you. And it should be someone that you really connect with. I feel like some of the best work experiences that I've had are because you can laugh, because you have each other's back, and then it doesn't feel like work so much anymore, right? It feels like I'm just hanging out, we're doing stuff together. And that's like the best sort of jobs. I didn't love the work, but I enjoyed it when I was a waiter because back in high school, I worked for like 3 or 4 years as a waiter. The group of people together, I would take food to their table. We would pick an order. Like I can go take an order for them and I would give it to them or whatever. And then we just pulled tips and we all were in it 100%, and we had each other's back. So we laughed a lot, we got through the night, and I still keep in touch with some of those people, because if you can live through a really busy night in a restaurant, you can live through anything. And now, actually, people, I know I'm thinking of restaurants. For those of you that are working in the service industry, this is a tough time. So lean on that group and see how you can support each other as you're moving through this uncharted territory. People are there for you. All right. We have traveling lightly. Simplify your life. So this is in, what is it that's going to bring in more wealth? Don't worry about what you have, and that flexibility that's been coming through a few times is also coming through here. So this is the Fool card too, personified in a different way. So being able to say, you know what? I don't need the title. I don't need the desk. I don't need the drama. All I need to know is that this feels right. And speaking from experience, like if I had stayed in my corporate job, I probably would be in a high level, but I gave away all those things so that I could just do something that felt right. Because at the end of the day, at the end of my life, when I go back into my higher self, my soul is not going to care, again, what letters were after my name, what title was before it, what company I worked for. It's going to ask me, did you do what you set out to do? That's where I'm going to be graded. So traveling lightly is fine as long as the soul is growing. You don't need much more than that knapsack. So the Fool gets misunderstood sometimes. It's part of that reincarnation cycle. You liberate yourself with the World card, and then you start again. We're constantly doing it, constantly going through that. So just be open to trying something new, even if it means starting from scratch. Everything here that I do, I started from scratch like 6 years ago. All right. Looking at the relationship aspect of this, you're going to have to make contact. So you're the one that's reaching out. Definitely with King and Queen of Swords coming up so much. They're up right here, but they were reversed before. Sending and receiving, sending and receiving. Where is this leading you? Honor your inner knowing. So we have this kind of like Empress or High Priestess type energy here with the Medicine Mother. So this is really about feeling it out, I would say too. If it doesn't feel right from the onset, it's probably never going to. This is true of love. This is true of a job. And this is true of just about any path. If the first thing you feel in the pit of your stomach is, this is a mistake, walk out the door and find a better option. Do some homework. Figure out why that's coming through. It's not an accident. There's something to tune into with respect to that. So yeah, you know what's best, and it's going to lead to happiness and health overall. Let's quickly review this, and then we'll get into the meditation. We're going to run a couple minutes over today, but it was important to get through all these messages. This one requires a slight review. So I'm going to do a quick review on this because we had some tricky cards, and I really want to get us on the right area for abundance. So just to kind of talk about it, this impatience is the only thing that could get in your way here between Temperance and the Page of Cups, Temperance reversed. Your tricky cards this month are really, for some of you, a limited resource, right? So maybe you legitimately have, nothing left in the bank account, or you have to move potentially because cost of living has become an issue. So this is where you're going to lean on the relationships around you to kind of give you that helping hand and help you find the way out. Don't stress, because what we see here, and if you remember, looking back earlier, even with love, there was growth. Looking back at the beginning, there was growth. So I feel like you are on a path of growth, but it does involve walking away from some things. And that's really all the Tower is saying, walking away and rebuilding. And what we see here is you have a chance to make something new happen. It just requires a little bit of contact on your part. And then the patience, you can't make the tree grow faster than it wants to. You can fertilize it. There's only so much. You can't force growth to a certain degree, or it can sometimes can burn out the plant too. So you need to kind of allow things to happen in their own time. So be open. Don't overthink, reviewing what we talked about earlier, and be willing to rebuild and try things anew again. All right. So, and finally, I think it's so important for you to connect and contact and really reach out to the people around you. This will help with the abundance overall. So really exciting energy coming through for you. So what are you all trying to pull in the new year? Maybe enter it into chat. Let's think about it for a second, and then we're going to meditate. We're going to set an intention. I'm going to light a candle too. So we'll pull my guides, your guides, all of our collective energy together. I'll light a candle and I'll put it over there with the big one, and we'll let the little candle burn out today so that your prayer can be heard. Okay. We'll meditate I'm going to use the singing bowl as well. So think about your intention. I think for some of us, we're hoping to see health. I'm going to set some intention for the collective as well. I think it would be great to have that sense of self-love and validation from within. I would like for all of us to stay as healthy as possible. I would love for new opportunities to be coming through. If your problem is you can't decide between two opportunities, that's a good problem to have. So I hope that for you, I would like to manifest that the Two of Swords is a wealth of opportunities instead of like, how do I get through this? It's more like I have too many good options in front of me. So let's look at it from that perspective and try to pull some really great opportunities in love, in money, in career, and in personal growth for you, so that Two of Swords is really just a fork in the road. Okay. Continue to think about that. I'm going to get my singing bowl ready here. And before I do anything, I think there's some people that have joined for the first time. So I'd like to just let you know, if you click on my website, you can get all of this information. But if you, first and foremost, I would just love for you to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I usually do sign by sign. So if this is your first time here and you want to see more collectives and also one-on-one sign by signs, please make sure that you click like and subscribe so you can see that. And I'll go through the rest later, but I'm going to quickly show social media as well. So you can join me on social media, and I post links to all the upcoming videos. So it's at Nicholas Ashbaugh on all social media except Twitter, where I'm at Ashbaugh. So I'll talk a little bit later about all of that. I just wanted to quickly throw that up there. All right, let's meditate, and we're going to take a look at what's coming through. And I'll light the candle at the end of this so that I can make sure that all of the collective prayers and meditations are heard. So let's begin with, I'd like to, as I was looking earlier at the stars, I like to work with the stars a lot. So let's kind of imagine that it's the end of the evening and that we are basically looking at first light. So I want you to look up at the sky, see the brightest star or planet in the sky, and imagine that this is your North Star, that this is going to lead you to the path that's coming through for the new year. And holding your heart, I want you to, with all your mind, body, and spirit energy, imagine that you could beam out a prayer to the universe, to yourself, maybe also a blessing for others, because when we pray for one another, it's just as it's stronger than if we pray for just ourselves. So I'm going to also pray for your collective happiness. And if everybody does that, happiness, health, wealth, and love, if we kind of do that for one another, we're all going to receive. So let's do that, a collective hug of energy, and then send your personal prayer out as well. So holding onto your heart space, imagine that just like that card that I saw in the Light Seers deck, you could kind of send up this energy almost like a flying kite, and you're going to connect to your higher self, plug into that highlight, and download the information, the way that you can do it, the sort of code for how can I find the success. And now blanket the world with love and light as well. And I'm going to play the singing bowl while you do that for just a minute or two, and then we're going to get into lighting the candle. At this point, I'm going to light the candle. I'm going to add a little bit to this. So it's a white candle, but it's in a green holder. So this is the heart space. As I light this candle for the collective today, I would like to ask that all of the prayers that we've said can be heard, that we can even go beyond the expectations of this. So all of this and more. Surprise us with abundance, surprise us with opportunity, bring a wave of healing to the planet. It so desperately needs it right now. Help everybody stay in that highest light and that highest energy, even when we're challenged. Bless everyone for coming today and improving the energy of the planet with just this simple activity of meditating and showing up. And as they show up, also help hold them up in the months and years ahead as well. So I ask my guides and your guides to work together to help us see the path in front of us, make the best decisions, and surprise us with the possibilities. With love and with light, thank you all. I'm going to put this candle over here near my larger one, and I'm going to let it burn out today as promised, so that our prayers and intentions will burn brightly with that light as well. Everybody else, you can feel free to do the same if you would like to. You can burn a candle at your end. White is perfect. You could also do colored candles, but they tend to have meanings, but green is good for the hearts. But yeah, just go with white. That's usually what I do if you can, if you have it. And keep me posted. Okay, before we wrap up, just a few things here for those of you who are new, some ways to stay in contact, some information about what's coming up. I haven't posted the dates yet. I'll do that later this afternoon. But I will be starting the next set of live readings on, let's take a look here. January 4th, it's a Monday. So that'll be for Aries, and then we'll go through the zodiac again. So I'll put that schedule up within the next day or so on my website and social media. So like and subscribe. It'll also be on the community tab here. As I said earlier, if you'd like to follow me across social media, you can click on the pinned comment in my my chat, and it's at Ashbaugh on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I put all of the dates, and usually I'll put a summary of the written cards. Today I probably won't because we had so much that we went through. But on each of the individual ones, I'll do that. And Goodreads is a great place to find out about my book. I'll talk about that in a second. Patreon is a great place to show up and give a little bit each month if you'd like to. The join button here also works in the same way. A free way to show support is just to like, subscribe. And today I'd love for you to comment below and tell me what you would like to see in future collective videos. I think I will continue to always put love intersperse it, since I can't always do that in the generals. So take a look at that and let me know what you like seeing here. If you happen to be watching this on replay, there's another way to give back. It's the applaud button here. And for everyone that was kind enough to give me a super chat today, thank you so much. It goes into buying supplies, all of the note cards, all of the cards. I'm going to buy some new tarot decks for the new year. If there's any decks you'd like to see me read with, you can put that in the comments as well. I'm always open to new ideas. My book is available on lots of retailers. You can go to my website for that, again, for more information. The book is called The Luminous Ones, and it's a sci-fi fantasy novel that I think a lot of you would enjoy. You can read the Amazon excerpt for information about that, but available now. And thank you so much for supporting me, for showing up today. This was a really fun way to kick off New Year's. I hope that you all have something safe and happy planned. I just want to say that I appreciate you showing up. I'm going to put a few links out here while we close up everything. But the important thing for you to remember, especially on today, is that this is a chance to really embrace the alchemic energy of the new year. I think sometimes we focus so much on this feeling of, I'm not happy with where I'm at. I don't like what's going on. This is a time when we all can kind of celebrate that thoughts and intentions are powerful. And I'd like to encourage you to kind of work on that a little bit every day. So I'm going to put some links out here. This is the link to my book. Here's the link to Patreon if you need it. Here's my PayPal. I don't do Venmo, but if you want to support through PayPal, you can do it there. And here's information on my social media. Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic new year. Make sure to check out all of the readings. They're all up for January. So you can go to my main YouTube page and you can see it there. And so you can just click on my picture and go back and it'll be there in the playlist. So, or you can go to my website and it'll be one of the first links there. You can look at all the January ones. I'll be posting the February links soon as well. All right, everybody. Much love and light to you. Hey, Apollo, you want to say goodbye to everyone? Here, buddy. Yeah, you can say goodbye. Yes. And Happy New Year from Apollo. Wishing you guys happiness, health, success, and love. Take care of yourselves. Much love and light. See you in a week and see you next year. It sounds kind of crazy, right? Take care, everyone. Thanks for making it a Happy New Year's.